subside.
Yarn.
Widower.
Sorry. Uh-huh. Okay, sorry. Um, the counter play style card had been purchased by Mr. Cavendish early in the married life. He had been completely under his wife a century, so much that on dying he left the place to her to lifetime, as well as the largest part of his income, an arrangement that was decliningly unfair to his two sons. Their stepmother, however, had always been most generous to them. Indeed, they were so young at the time of their father's remarriage that they always thought of her as their own mother. Lawrence, as the youngest, had been a delicate youth. He had qualified as a doctor but early relinquished the profession of medicine, and I lived at home while purchasing literary ambitions. Though his verses never had any marks to sales, John practiced for some time as various barrister, but had finally settled down to the most congenial life of Country Square. He had married 2 years ago and had taken his wife to live at Styles, though I entertained suspicion that he would have preferred his mother to increase his allowance, which would all have enabled him to have a home of his own. Mr. Cavendish, however, was a lady who liked to make her own plans, and excited other people to fall with them, and in this case she certainly had the whip held, namely the purse string. John noticed my surprise and the news of the mother's remarriage and smiled rather ruefully.
Ruefully.
Ruefully. Rotten little bounder too, he said savagely. I can tell you, Hastings, it's making late Hastings. It's like Hastings? Oh yeah, its name. It's making life surely difficult for us. As for Evie, you remember Evie? No. Oh, I suppose she was after you time. She's the matter's factotum.
Factotum.
Factotum companion. Jack of all trades. A great sport, old Evie not precisely young and beautiful, but as game as they make them. You were going to say, oh, this fellow, he turned it up from nowhere of the pretext of being a second cousin of somewhere of Elvis, though she didn't seem particularly keen to acknowledge their relationship. The fellow is absolute outsider. Anyone can see that. She's got a great black beard and wears patent leather boots in all weather. But the matter caught on to him at once, to his old secretary. You know how she's always running a Harry's society, I nodded. But of course the war was turning the Harrys into thousands. No doubt the fellow was very useful to her, but he could have knocked us all down with the feather when 3 months ago she suddenly announced that she and Alfred were engaged. The fellow must be at least 20 years younger than she is. It's simply bare-faced fortune hunting. But there you are. She is her own mistress, and she's married him. It must be a difficult situation for you all. Difficult? It's damnable, 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 damnable,
Damnable.
damnable. It's damnable. Thus it came about that 3 days later I decided from the train at Styles to marry an absurd little station, with no apparent reason for excited. Perched up the midst of green field. Perched up. Perched up.
Perched up.
Perched up. Perched up in the midst of green field and country lanes. John Cavendish was waiting on the platform and pelted me out of the car. Got a grab of 2 petrol still. Perched.
Perch.
Perch. Perch. Got a drop or two of petrol still, you see, he remarked, mainly owing to the matter's activities. The village of Styles to Mary was situated about 2 miles from the little station, and Stallcourt lay a mile the other side of it. It was a still warm day in early July, as one looked out over the flat Essex country, lying so green and peaceful under the afternoon sun. It seemed almost impossible to believe that, not so very far away, a great fire was running its appointed course. I felt I had suddenly strayed into another world as we turned into the large the lodge gates. Lodge.
Lodge.
Lodge. Johnson.
Lodge.
Lodge. I'm afraid you will find it very quietly down here, Helsling. My dear fellow, that's just what I want. Oh, it's pleasant enough if you want to lead the idle life. I'd drill with the volunteers twice a week and lend a hand at the farms. My wife works regularly on the land. She's up at 5 every morning to milk and keeps out it steadily until lunchtime. It's a jolly good life taking it all round if it weren't for that fellow Alfred Klinger in the Intel in Gelthorpe. In Gelthorpe. How can read? It's impossible. Like they create just
Inglethorpe.
Inglethorpe. Inglethorpe. He checked the car silly and glanced it at his watch. I wonder if we've time to pick up Cynthia. No, she'll have started from the hospital by now. Cynthia is not your wife. No, Cynthia is protege of my mother's, the daughter of an old schoolfellow of hers, who married a red-colored solicitor. Solicitor. What does it mean, solicitor?
Solicitor.
Solicitor. It's like, oh my god, they created one more word for this type of lawyer in Britain and Australia who trained to prepare cases and given a legal subject and can represent people in a lawyer course, like sometimes. Only penny. My mother came to rescue and Sylvia had been with nearly 2 years. She works in a Red Cross hospital at Ministry 7 miles away. As he spoke the last words, he drew up in front of the fine old house. A lady in stout tweed skirt, who was bending over a flower bed, straightened herself at our approach. Hello, Evie, here is a wonderful hero, Mr. Hustling Miss Honda. Miss Honda shook hands with a hearty, almost painful grip. I had an expression of a very blue-eyed, sunburned face. She was a pleasant-looking woman of about 40 with a deep voice almost mainly in its stentorian tones.
Stentorian.
Stentorian tones. Using a very loud voice, or voice very loud. Stentorial, very loud voice. Stentorial voice. Okay. Stentorial tones and had a large sensibility square body with fit to match these last encased in good thick boots. Her conversation I soon found was couched in the telegram style. Its ground-like house a fire can keep even with shall praise you're in, better be careful. I'm sure I shall be only too delighted to make myself useful. I responded, don't say it, never does. Wish you had later. You're cynic, Evie, said John, laughing. Where is tea today? Inside or out? Out. Do find a day to be cooped in the house. Cooped up in the house.
Cooped up.
Cooked up. Come on then, you're done now gathering for today. The laborer is worthy of his hire. Laborer is junior? No, just
Laborer.
laborer. The laborer is worthy of his hire. Come and be refreshed. Well, said Miss Hurst, drawing off her gardening gloves. I'm inclined to agree with you. She led the way around the house to where three was spread under the shade of large sycamore. A figure rose from one of the basket chairs and came a few steps to meet us. My wife hustling, said John. I shall never forget my first sight of Mary's Cavendish. Her tall, slender form outlined against the bright light, the vivid sense of slumbering fire.
Slumber.
Those nub slumbering fire. Slumbers to sleep, literally.
Slumber.
Slumber. Slumbering fire is a semi-defined expression only in John's wonderful tawny eyes. Tawny, it's like, I know what's made. I know, I don't.
Tawny.
Tawny cat, I know. Tawny eyes of hers, remarkable eyes, different from any other woman's that I have ever known. The intense power of stillness she possessed, which nevertheless convenient the expression of wild, untamable spirit in an exceedingly civil body. All these things are burned into my memory. I shall never forget them. She greeted me with a few words of pleasant welcome in a low, clear voice, and I sank into the basket chair, feeling distinctly glad that I had accepted John's invitation. Mr. Cavendish gave me some tea, and her quite remarkable remarks highlighted my first impression of her as thorough, fascinating woman. An appreciative listener is always stimulating and described in a humorous manner, certainly inclined on my convalescent home in a way which I flatter myself greatly amused my hostess John, of course good fellow though he is, could rarely be called a brilliant conversationalist. At the moment a well-remembered voice floated through the open French window near a hut. Then you'll write to the princess after tea, Alfred. I'll write to Lady Tentminster for the second day myself. Or shall we wait until we hear from the princess? In case of refusal, Lady Tentminster might open in the first day, and Mr. Crosby is the second. Mrs. Crosby is the second. Then there is the Duchess, the
Duchess.
Duchess, about the skill theater.
Fed. Fed.
That a skill found. There was the murder of man's voice, and then mystery intercrop rose in reply. Yes, certainly. After tea we'll go to Quiet Fell, and you're thoughtful, Alfred dear. The French window swung open a little wider, and a handsome white-haired old lady with a somewhat masterful cast features stepped out of onto the lawn. A man followed her, a suggestion of advancing in his manner. Mr. Interthorpe greeting me with fusion.
Effusion.
Effusion. Why, if it isn't delightful to see you again, Mr. Helsing, after all these years. Alfred, darling, Mr. Helsing, my husband. I looked with some curiosity at Alfred Darling. He certainly struck a rather elegant note. I did not wonder at John objecting to his bird. It was one of the longest and blackest I have ever seen. He wore gold grimmer pins, nails, and had a curious emphasis, a patheticity of feature. This feature. It struck me that he might look natural on stage, but was strangely out of place in real life. His voice was rather deep and infectious. Infectious. Voice deep and infectious.
Unctuous.
Umptuous.
Unctuous.
Unctuous.
Unctuous. Unctuous.
Unctuous.
Anxious. Anxious people or behavior express too much praise, interest, friendliness, etc. in a way that feels and unpleasant. Is anxious, anxious,
Unctuous.
anxious, anxious, manner, voice, smile. He's anxious. He placed a wooden hand in mine and said, "This is pleasant, Mr. Helsing." Then turning to his wife, "Emily, dearest, I think that cushion is a little damp." She beamed fondly on him, as said Miss Will another with every demonstration of the tenderest care. Stranger influence of an otherwise sensible woman. With the presence of Mr. Thorpe, a sense of consistent ability hostility seemed to settle down upon the company. Miss Hart, in particular, took no pains to conceal her feelings. Mr. Thorpe, however, seemed to notice nothing unusual. Her validity, which I first coming bother, which was organized and which was to take place shortly. Occasionally she referred to her husband, over I question myself that my first judgment are usually fairly shoved shrift
shrewd,
shrewd 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 shrewd, having based on a clear and certainly a good judgment of a station resulting in advantage.
Shrewd.
Shrewd. He was shrewd enough not to take the job when there was the possibility of getting a better one a few months later. Pleasantly, Mr. Thorpe turned to give some instruction about literary to Lady Howard and her husband, addressing me in his painstaking voice. "Is solidary your regular professional?" "No, professional, Mr. Helsing." "No, before that war I was in Lloyd, and you will return there after it's over. Perhaps either is that a fresh start altogether." Mary Carriage leaned forward. "What would you really choose as a profession? If you could just consult your inclination, well, that depends." "No secret hobby?" he asked. "Tell me. You're drawn into something, especially is usually something absurd." You laughed at me. She smiled. "Perhaps. Well, I've always had a secret hankering to be detective. That's a real thing, Scotland Yard or Sherlock Holmes." "Oh, Sherlock Holmes, by all means. But really, seriously, I'm awful drawn to it. I came across a man in Belgium as a famous detective, and my quite inflamed me. He was a marvelous little fellow. He used to say that all good detective work was a mere matter of method. My system is based on his, though of course I have progression razor further. He was a funny little man, a great dandy, great dandy.
Dandy.
Dandy. A great dandy. Shoot. Men, especially in the past, who dressed in expensive fashionable clothes and was interested in own appearance. An upper-class dandy. Very good. This is often said as a joke when really something is not good or you're you're not happy about it. Well, that's just dandy if you happen to have $500,000 to spare. I'm tired of pretending life is just dandy when it's not. But wonderfully clever. He was a funny little man, a great dandy, wonderful clever, like a good detective story myself, remarked Miss Howard. Lots of nonsense written, though. Criminal discovery in last chapter, everyone dumbfounded real crime. You'd known at once. There had been a great number of undiscovered crimes, I argue. Don't mean the police, but the people that are writing it. The family you couldn't really hoodwink them. Hoodwink them. What it means hoodwink them? Oh, deception.
Hoodwink.
Hoodwink. Oh, okay. It's just crazy. To deceive or trick someone, he hoodwink us into agreeing.
Hoodwink.
Hoodwink. Then they'd known. Then I stayed much amused. You think that if you were mixed in a crime, say a murder, you'd be able to spot the murder right off? Of course I should. Mightn't be able to provide it a pack of lawyers, but I'm certain I'd known. I'd feel it in my fingertips. If he came near me, it might be a she, I suggested. Might, but murderous violent crime associate is more with a man, not in a case of a poisoning. Mr. Cavendish's clear voice startled me. Startled me. Clear voice startled me. It's quite clear. It is quite clear.
Startled.
Startled. Oh my god. Oh no. Okay, sorry for actually. I just kidding. I'm just kidding. I just kidding. So it's startled.
Startled.
Startled. He was startled when dozens of strangers showed up at his office. Startled. Clear voice startled me. Dr. Bowers was saying yesterday that owing to the general ignorance of the more uncommon poisons among the medical profession, there were probably countless cases of poisoning quite unsuspected. Why, Mary, was a gruesome conversation cried Mr. Inglethorpe, it makes me feel as if a ghost were making over my grave. Oh, there is a Thea, a young girl in VAT uniform run light like Rose alone. Why, Thea, are you late today? This is Mr. Hastings, Mrs. Murchus. authentic and mirrors the fresh-looking young creature, full of life and vigor. I'm not sure, like, tall.
Vigor.
Vigor. Energy, power, vigor. Because Viagra. Vigor, Viagra. Strange energy, enthusiasm. They set about their work with youthful vigor and enthusiasm. She tossed over her little V.I.G. cap and admires the great loose waves of her auburn hair, and the smallest and whiteness of the hand she held out to claim her tea. With dark grey eyes and eyelashes she would have been a beauty. She flung herself down on the ground beside John, and as I handed her a plate of sandwiches, she smiled up at me. Sit down here in the grass. Though it's ever so much nicer. I dropped down
Obedient.
Obediently.
Obediently in a way that does or shows that you are willing to do what you have to be told or to do by someone's in a third seat. The dog throttled obediently to its manner, to his master. Trot. Oh, if a horse is similar in all his full legs, trot is round its shower speed. Trot, I know what's mean trot, okay. I saw it actually have this picture in my wallpaper. I mean, on my desk. Obediently. She down. That's right. I drove down obediently. You work at that mystery, don't you, Mrs. March? She nodded. For my sins, do they bully you then? I asked, smiling. I should like to see them, I cried, thinking with dignity. I have got a cousin who is nursing, I remarked, and she is terrified of sisters. I don't wonder sisters are known Mr. Hustling. There is simply are. You're no idea, but I'm not a nurse. That's heaven. I work in the dispensary. How many people do you poison? Asked, smiling. Cynthia smiled too. Oh, hundreds, she said. Cynthia. Cynthia? Cynthia. Call it Mr. Inglaterthorpe. Do you think you could write a few notes for me? Certainly, Aunt Emily. She jumped up promptly, and something in her manner reminds me that her position was dependent one, and that Mr. Inglaterthorpe, kind as she might be in the main, did not love to forget it. Miss House tells turning to me. John, we'll show you your room. Supper is a 7:30. We have given Supper is 7:30. We have given up last dinner for some time now. Let it has been her own member wife. She was the late Laura Abertley daughter. Does the same. She agrees with me that one must set an example of economy. We are quite a wary household. Nothing is wasted here. Every scrap of waste paper even is saved and sent away in sacks. I expected my appreciation on the John took me into the house and up the broad staircase, which forked right and left half way to different wings and building. My room was in the left wing and looked out over the park. John left me, and a few minutes later I saw him from my window walking slowly across the grass, arm in arm, silvery I heard Mr. Inglethorpe called Silver impatiently, and the girl started and ran back to the house. At the same moment a man stepped out from the shadow of a tree and walked slowly in the same direction. He looked about 30, very dark, with a melancholy clean-shaven face. Some violent emotions seemed to be mastering him. He looked up at my window and he paused. I recognized him, though he had changed much in the 15 years that had elapsed since we last met. It was John's younger brother, Lauren Cavendish. I wonder what it was that had brought that singular expression to his face. Then I dismissed him from my mind and returned to the contemplation of my own affairs. The evening passed pleasantly enough, and I dreamed that night of the enigmatical woman Mary Cavendish.
Enigmatical.
Enigmatical woman Mary Cavendish. The next morning dawned bright and sunny, and I was full of anticipation of the delightful visit. I did not see Mr. Cavendish until lunch-time. When she volunteered to take me for a walk, and we spent a charming afternoon roaming in the woods, returning to the house about 5. As we entered the large hall, John beckoned us both into the smoking room. I saw at once by his face that something disturbing had occurred. He followed him in, and he shut the door after. Look here, Mary, there is a deuce mouse.
Deuce.
Deuce. Deuce. Deuce.
Deuce.
Deuce.
Deuce. The score in tennis when both players have 15. 14. Okay. And the deuce used in this equation illustrates anger and surprise. What the deuce do you think you're doing? Anger is surprise, deuce, and the score in tennis. As we entered the large hall, John beckoned us both. In the smoking room, I saw at once by his face that something disturbing had occurred. We followed him in, and he shut the door after us. Look here, Mary. There is deuce of mouth. There is the deuce of mouse. Shocking and anger. Avis had a row with Alfred Inglethorpe, and she's off. Elvie, off? She nodded gloomily. Yes, you see, she went to the matter, and oh, here is Elvie herself. Miss Howard entered. Her lips sat grimly together, and she carried a small suitcase. She looked excited and determined, and slightly on the defense. At any rate, she burst out, I've spoken my mind. My dear Albany, cried Mr. Demish, this can't be true. This can't be true. Miss Howard nodded grimly. True enough. I'm afraid I said something to Emily she won't forget or forgive in a hurry. Don't mind if they've only sunk in a bit. Probably water off a duck's back, though, I said right off out. You're an old woman, Emily, and there is no fool like an old fool. The man's 20 years younger than you, and don't you fool yourself. As to what he married you for money. Well, do not let him have too much of it. Farmer Rakers has got a very pretty younger wife. Just ask her, Alfred, how much time you spent over there. She was very angry, naturally. I went on. I'm going to fire you whether you like it or not. That was what as soon mother and you in bed as look at you. He's a bad lot. You can say what you like to me, but remember what I've told you. He's a bad lot. What did you say? Mr. Howard made an extremely expression grimace. Darling Alfred, darling after a beginning calumnious like on
calumnies,
calumnies, slander, calumnies, calumnies.
calumny,
Calumny is the act of making a statement about someone that is not true, and it intended to may damage the reputation of the person. Calumny. Weakening lies, weakening woman, and accuse held as held their husband. The sooner I left her house is better, so I'm off, but not now, this minute. For a moment we sat and stared at her. Finally John Cantavish finding her personally on no avail. Reconcile. Avail. For a moment we sat and stared at her. For a moment we sat and stared at her. Finally John Cantavish finding her persuasion of no avail. Benefit, profit, advantage, gain, avail, catch. Avail, no avail. Use, purpose, advantage, or profit.
avail,
Avail. He tried to persuade her not to resign, but did not avail, did not success. Went off to look up the trains. His wife followed him, murmuring something about persuading Mystery in the throat to think better of it. As she left the room, Miss Howard's face changed. She leaned towards the eagerly Mr. Hastling. You're honest, I can trust you. I was a little startled. She laid her hand on my arm and sank her voice to a whisper. Look after her, Mr. Hastling. My poor Emily is there are a lot of shark on all of them. Oh, I know what I'm talking about. The reason one of them that had hurt up and trying to get money of her. I've protected her as much as I could. Now I'm out of the way. I'll impose upon her. I impose upon her.
impose,
Impose. 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 To officially rule, force, real tax punishment, etc. to obey it or receive it. Very high taxes have recently been imposed on cigarettes. Judges are imposing increasingly heavily fines for minor driving offense. The council has imposed a ban of alcohol at such a park. To force someone to accept something, especially a belief or way of living. I don't want them to improvise their religious belief on my children. We must impose some kind of order on the way of the officer is wrong. Actually, no. Look after her, Mr. Howard. My poor Emily is a lot of shark of them. Oh, I know what I'm talking about. The reason if all of them that not hurt and trying to get money of the hero. Our Noah unreasonably impels upon hell. Impels upon hell. Impels upon hell.
Impose upon her.
Impels. Impose upon her. Of course, Mr. Howard. I said I'll do everything I can, but I'm sure you're excited and overthrow our row.
overwrought,
Overwrought. 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 You're overwrought. Instead of being upset, nervous, and worried.
overwrought,
She was so tired and overwrought that she burst into tears. Overwrought. Overwrought. I'm sure you're excited and overwrought. She interrupted. She interrupted me by slowly shaking her forefinger. Younger man, trust me. I've lived in the world rather longer than you have. All I ask you is keep your eyes open. You'll see what I mean. The throb, the throb of her motor, the throb,
throb,
throb, throb, throb, the throb of the motor, the throb,
throb,
throb, the throb of the motor came through the open window, and Miss Howard rose and moved to the door. John's voice sounded outside. With her hand on the handle, she turned her head over the shoulder and beckoned to me. Above all, Mr. Hastling watched the devil, her husband. There was no time for her more. Miss Howard was swallowed up and in eager chorus of protest and goodbyes. The innkeeper did not appear. The motor drove away. Mr. Canterville shyly detached herself from the groom and moved across the drive to the lawn to meet Hill, a tall bearded man who had been evidently making for the house. The color rose in her cheeks, and she held out her hand to him. "Who is that?" I asked sharply, for intensely understanding the man. "That," said John shortly, "and who's actually he's staying in the village doing a rest cure. After a bad nervous breakdown, he's a London specialist, a very clever man, one of the greatest living experts on poisoning, I believe, and he's a great friend of Mary's," put in Century as the irresponsible John Cantavish frowned and changed the subject. "Confess through. Hastings, this has been a most rotten business. She's always had a rough tongue, but there is no strangest friend in England that even like Howard." He took the path through the plant, plant, plantation.
plantation,
Plantation, and we walked down to the village through the wood which which bordered on one side of the estate.
Estate.
As we passed through one of the gates on our way home again, a pretty young woman of Grimsby type coming in the opposite direction bowed and smiled. That pretty girl remarked appraisively.
Appreciatively.
Appreciatively. John faced her. I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry. It's really great. You know why? Because I'm gonna cry. It's perfect. I hope everyone will see it again. But not me. Okay. Okay, that's all for today, I believe. Thank you for staying here. It was nice to meet you all, and bye.